Hello, and thank you for joining us for Zoom in webinars. This session is about online classes. My name is Monica, and I'm an organizational development consultant focusing on education and technology. I work for Alpha Plus, and our organization is a support agency that works with literacy and basic skills organizations across Ontario. We provide free technology coaching services, face-to-face and online training, tech support, advisory and working groups, as well as research and resource gathering services. Today, we are going to talk about online classes, and we will be taking a quick look at Google Classroom, Canvas, Moodle, Brightspace, and a few other options as well. The reason we are doing those sessions is that our team really wants to help. We have been receiving lots of inquiries for ideas, tips, training, and resources, and we want to make sure that we provide them to you and address as big audience as we can. This session is really a quick brief overview of some of those tools. If you have more questions, please feel free to follow up with email or phone calls. We will be very happy to answer any additional questions you may have. We can also do more individualized support for you. Those could be demonstrations and tests that we can show you. And if you decide to work with us, you could become our coaching client. That will make it easier for you and us because we will be working with each other on a more individual basis. It's also a chance for us to see how Zoom works and explore some of the features so that we can later share those features, tips, and ideas with you as well. When you think about online classes, once again, there are different considerations to take into account. One of them is access to internet and data usage. Even if you don't think the data usage may be high, if you are doing online classes that involve videos and recordings, once again, that may be affecting your package, your data package that you may have. So something to consider as you're thinking about online classes. Another thing to consider is digital skills and your comfort with technology, but not only yours, but as well your learners. What do they know? How do they access the information? Do they know how to navigate, how to log in? All those tips and resources that sometimes we provide to ourselves and our colleagues are very important to also consider when you're working with your clients and learners. What kind of devices are available to your clients and learners and those taking online classes? Will they be using laptops or desktops? Will they be using mobile devices, which makes their screen a little smaller? Do they need a printer to print some of the resources you're asking them to do or fill out? All those things, again, need to be taken into account. Purpose is another big factor, especially as we go through the tools today. What do you want your learners to do will be very important, but also it will sort of affect the flexibility and the types of tools you will be choosing. As we will navigate through different options, you will see they will be becoming more and more complicated. They will have more and more features. And at some point, you may realize that actually it's too much and it may be too complicated for your learners to use as well. The content and flow of the sessions that you're trying to organize and how you're sharing that content will be important to consider and take into account what information and how much information you're giving to your clients or learners that are taking the classes with you. Time commitment and cost, not only from your perspective as a host or teacher, but also from your learner perspective, and the cost of spending the time together, the cost of doing the classes as well. Individual versus teamwork. Once again, when we move to online environments, those lines get a bit blurred. It's a very different environment to be in. We don't have as many visual clues when it comes to working with our clients and how much work they have to do on their own versus how much they can do with their teammates or classmates, or even with you as an instructor. And something that we don't think about is the different learning styles. Some of us may be a bit more visual. We may prefer to write things down. So again, moving the content online is making some things more difficult and complicated for some of our learners. And we need to be aware of that to make sure that we provide as many different options and as interesting content for the learners so they can learn properly. As well, personality, whether it's an instructor or learner, somebody with high energy, somebody who speaks slow, somebody who may not be comfortable with being online, somebody who may not be comfortable with speaking out. All those different personality traits will be affecting your online sessions as well, and something to really, really consider as you're getting ready for that or as you're doing it as well. When we talk about online classes, we often refer to learning management systems, so sort of LMS. You may have heard that being thrown around and discussed a lot. So just very briefly, what is that and what does it mean? And usually learning management systems will be platforms or tools that will allow you to set up classes and courses and training online. They will often require login for privacy and tracking progress. And that tracking progress is one of those really big features, because those tools will often allow you to see what the students are doing and provide you tips, information, even check marks for the sections that they have navigated through the activities they have done and things they haven't done yet. So that tracking progress is one of the major features of the learning management systems. In any of them, you will have various tools to help you set up lessons, activities, and assignments. You can add quizzes, discussions, videos, whatever you want to do. Many of them will be available across different learning management systems. They may also include calendars, storage for files and assignments. So depending on the tool, they may be built in or they may be used separately, but a lot of them will rely on that functionality to make the content easy, accessible, and easy for students to share the content with you as well. They will often include the marking and grades option. So once again, the tracking, the login, all those tools together create a learning management system. When it comes to considering your online classes, there are some setup considerations as well. In the past, if somebody was using online classes, that was often used as a support to in-class learning. And sometimes we refer to that as blended models, where there will be some face-to-face interaction and then class support. Others may have been using it as a homework completion assignment. So students would come to the class, will work on either one-on-one or in a group with the instructor, but then they may have some homework assigned. There could be also a combination where there's some learning is scheduled in the class, maybe once or twice a week or 3 days a week. And then there's some hours that needs to be done online with assignments and activities that the students will do online. And finally, all online. That shift hasn't really happened to many organizations before COVID-19, but with the COVID-19 upon us, it's one thing that has been really, really increased. And within a week or two, a lot of instructors and programs are switching to online models, which may be very difficult and hard. And I really want to acknowledge that it's not an easy task. And I totally want to give a shout out to all the instructors who are doing it on such a short term and so quickly. If you're thinking about having your students taking online courses, you really need to take into account their skills and their experience. It's really hard for low-level learners who are just starting their learning journey to quickly adapt and switch to online environments, just because they may not even have the tools, the resources, and the skills to do so. So one of the tips that I wanted to share with you is that Ontario Learn has this assessment for computer skills. It's really mainly yes or no questions, but that allows somebody to kind of take a look at their skills and figure out, am I really comfortable with this or not? And it provides tips and resources for going further. If you don't want to use this one, the questions may guide you and give you additional tips on how you yourself may set up some kind of assessment to help figure out what your learner can and cannot do. As we talk about online classes, one thing to remember is the EChannel partners that are providing online classes and support to learners within the literacy and basic skills community. So please remember that you still have the Learning Hub for the Anglophone stream, Good Learning Anywhere for the Aboriginal stream, Deaf Learn Now for the Deaf stream, and FND for the Francophone stream. Finally, ACE for academic upgrading. All those providers have online classes with video meetings, chats, emails, and all kinds of support for your learners. Keep in mind that if you have a learner registered with your program and you encourage them to use the online services or EChannel services, you both are able to count that learner and report on that learner within CAM's reporting system. So it's not that you're handing over the learner and you're losing that learner. You both are interacting with the learner. It's just different type of services you're providing. And all those EChannel partners provide a combination of various tools when it comes to the online classes. They may be using Play-Doh Learnscape, Moodle, Adobe Connect, and other tools that they decide will be useful and practical for their learners. As we go through different tools, the very first one to start with is Google Classroom. So Google Classroom, like many other Google products, are free, and they are included with a regular Gmail account. If you have Google for Education and a nonprofit, they are available on those accounts as well. What's nice about those tools is that there's one sign-in, and it is the same sign-in as your Gmail account. So with one login, you have access to all kinds of different applications that you may want to use and explore. If you go into your classroom as a user, you can not only participate in the classes, but you can also create classes on your own. So within the same application, you can be a teacher and a student. If you're the instructor or teacher within the program, you can add other instructors to manage the class. So you're not the only teacher managing the content. So if you are not able to attend a specific day or do something, or you need a replacement, another instructor or teacher can be added, and they can co-manage the class with you. Learners and students can join by email invitation or class code. So each class you will create will get a specific ID or code that can be given out to students, and they will be able to quickly join the class. And we'll go through a few screen captures a bit later. Each class includes sections called Stream, Classwork, People, and Grades. And all those 4 sections are available to the teacher. A student will mostly see Stream and Classwork and People. They will not see the grades section as a separate tab. They will see their grades in the Classwork section. The Stream section allows teachers to share links, videos, documents, have discussions with the class students, and send and receive assignments. So it's almost like an activity feed that shows you what's happening. So students could be coming in the morning, logging in, and seeing a message from you, a video from you, a picture that you have posted that allows you to sort of interact with them on an ongoing basis in that online environment. What you may not realize is that Google Drive is actually used with the Google Classroom. It's not as visible right in the classroom, but all the files and folders that you're working with get specific separate folder created as soon as you create a class, and they get stored in there. And when the student joins the class, they get their own Google Drive within their own account that allows them to see all the files and folders related to the class in that folder as well. Other Google applications can be used to support the learning, but they're not built into that environment. So for example, Google Sites that allows you to build a website with content for your students, or Hangouts Meet that allows you to chat and video meet with the students. They are not directly embedded or included with Google Classroom, but because Google Classroom and all the other applications use Gmail as a login, they can be easily transitioned and accessed to connect with your students. To access your Google Classroom, 2 easy steps to do so. If you go into your browser, you're signed into your Gmail account. In the browser, you just type in classroom.google.com, or you use your app launcher, sometimes called a sushi or waffle menu. When you click on that and scroll down, one of the options will be Classroom. You click on that and you go into your classroom environment. It is a fairly simple looking environment to find your way around. If you already have classes you're either running as a teacher, or if you are a member of a class, it will just show up as a pane that's visible. In this case, I have 4 that are open and visible to me. I have an option to look at the gradebook as a teacher and see what's happening. I can open the folder that is the Google Drive folder that's linked to that class, or I can click directly on the type of the name of the class to go in and then interact with the students and learners within that class. Before we get into the classes themselves, one thing to pay attention to is the Hamburger menu. So the 3 lines visible on the left side. If you click on that, that will be sort of like a shortcut access for you. You will be able to go back to classes if you're somewhere else. You can quickly access your calendar that's linked to your classes. But one thing that's nice is the to-do list. And that to-do list as a teacher, you will see all the assignments you have given to your students in different classes. So it's a snapshot of what's still to come, what you need to mark and review. Very, very handy if you're managing different classes, rather than going into each class and trying to do it individually. The system can help you with that. The other option on the right side is a plus symbol. And Google is very popular with the plus symbols, sort of indicating you want to add something. When you click on the plus symbol, you will have two options. You will be able to join a class or create a class. If you click on join a class, you will be asked to enter the code. So the teacher has to give you the code to enter, but as soon as you enter it, you will be right in the class. You don't have to do anything else. If as a teacher you decide to create a class, you will be able to assign it a name, a section if you want, a subject, and room. Keep in mind the room because Google Classroom is used in K-12 settings. So a lot of teachers will have a Google Classroom running alongside their face-to-face sessions as well. If I go into a session, so for example, I went into Alpha Plus Tech Skills class. As soon as I clicked on it, the system opens up. As I mentioned, you will have 4 tabs available to you. This is the teacher view, stream, classwork, people, and grades. And the stream is automatically enabled. In the stream is basically a place where I can post different videos, pictures, assignments, and have discussions with my students. So if I click on share something with your class, what will happen, I will get a pop-up or a box where I can decide who am I sharing with, if it's all students or individuals, if I'm actually sharing to one class or multiple classes if I want to. I can put in a sort of description or a message that I want to include, and I can attach different things. So I can attach things from Google Drive if I have files or folders available. I can link to a specific video, for example. I can include the file directly with this post and then go directly to YouTube as well. If I want to, I can post it right away, or I can schedule it. So what's nice about scheduling is that you can plan the entire week for your class, have everything ready, and the system will be scheduling those announcements or messages for you without you having to go every day and do that. So if I posted the message, happy Monday, hope you had a good weekend, use comment below to share what was the highlight of your weekend. Students will have a chance to add class comments and interact with me almost like as if we were just catching up and talking with each other. In the settings, you can allow those comments to be shared between students as well, so they can see and participate in the discussion. If I jump into a classwork, which is the second option in the class, that's where I can see different assignments I have given to students and create new ones. So if I click create, I will have an option to create a specific assignment, quiz assignment, question, materials, and reuse existing posts. So a lot of different options for you to choose from. If I choose assignment, so again, I clicked create assignment, a box opens up so I can give my assignment a title, I can provide instructions. Once again, I can add existing documents, but if I don't have them, if I'm creating this assignment from scratch, I can even go into my docs or slides and create new content for my students. What's nice is even with the slides, I could create a presentation and attach it as assignment for students to basically review and potentially provide feedback and so on. On the right side, I will have different tools and options to choose. So once again, I can choose which class as I'm assigning this to. If all students are looking at it, I can choose specific student or all students. So if you're co-managing or working with students at different levels, you have an option to send them assignments separately. I can assign points or grading scale. You do not have to, but you can. I can assign a due date, and I can also organize this by topic if I want to. You can even add rubrics or specific ways to mark your assignments, so it's easier for you to grade them. And when that's done, the assignment goes to the student. When I go to people, which is the next tab in Google Classroom, I have an option to manage my teachers and students in the class. And as I mentioned, you can add other teachers to your account. Keep in mind, they have to have a Gmail account or Google for Nonprofit or Education account. It cannot be somebody with just Outlook account. Same with students. Students you're signing up need to have some kind of Google account, whether it's a Gmail account, so the account that ends with @gmail.com, or a Google for Education on Nonprofit account that you can add there. When you go to grades, so this is the last option in Google Classroom, you will be able to see grades and assignments that were given today. I only had one, and only one learner actually accessed and opened it, but I didn't mark it. So I don't have the grade assigned to that student. But again, you do not have to use the grades at all. You can still send student assignments, have them complete them. You do not have to do the grading. Totally up to you. If you decide to invite your students to your class, there are different options to do that. As I mentioned, you can either give them a code or invite them by email. So a very quick screen capture to show you that if you invite them by email, the email actually will have a button that they will click on to join the class. And as they do, they will see the same stream you see as a teacher, but notice the grades option as a tab menu is not available. So the students really have only 3 tabs to navigate, which makes it easier and cleaner for them to find their way around. Once again, quick reminder that there's a menu right next to the name of the course. In a student view, they also have the to-do list. And notice if it was a teacher, it was the sort of teacher to do. This is enrolled, so this is for students to do. And it gives them a reminder of the different assignments that they may have been assigned. So in to do, it will be a list of what they still have to do. And in done, it's a list of what they have completed. So a very quick and handy tip for students, again, to check what assignments they have to work on. And that's it for our Google Classroom. I hope you found that overview handy. A few specific screen captures. As we move on to the other tools, they may not be as detailed, but one of the reasons I wanted to highlight the classroom is because the features you're seeing, the ability to share assignments, the ability to grade, the ability to communicate with the students, a lot of those features will be visible and you will see them across the other applications as well. So the next one is Canvas. It's a free teacher version that we are exploring. There's also a paid version. So just to give you a bit of overview, it is developed by Instructure, an organization from the States. A paid version is expensive. I did call, so this is my quote that I received. If we wanted to apply for something for Alpha Plus as an organization, taking into account that we may be working with clients from 300 organizations across Ontario, but not big numbers that we were giving them. So still expensive for a nonprofit organization. It is used by schools and larger institutions, again, just because they have funding and resources to roll this out. But the free account for teachers has a lot of features that you may find useful. And they are available similar to what you see in the paid version. Some things may not be enabled, but from what we have seen in what's available, it's pretty comprehensive. If you want to learn more about the comparisons, there's a link on this slide that you can click on, and that will give you an overview of what's included in the free version and what's not. And for some of the regular teaching you're potentially planning to do or thinking of doing, it may be enough. So just give it a try, take a look, and see how it works for you. In this case, students do have to set up an account, but any email can be used. So in Google, it had to be a Gmail account. In Canvas, it could be any type of email that can be used to work with your learners. There's 2 ways to access the free version for Canvas. The one on the left is a bit older version. That's how we learned about Canvas and the teacher version. So you will notice it says sign up for free. It's free. I'm a teacher, I'm a student. You can go in and register. And there's a link to that. They also have the free access directly through the main access that they provide to schools and organizations. So in both cases, you are going to end up with the same type of account, the free account for teachers. When students sign up, that's only because they will be joining your class. So that's why you have that option there as well. If I sign up for that free account and sign in, I will have a dashboard. And in my case, I already have 4 courses set up. Some of the courses were created by me. Some of them have been created by somebody else. And I was invited to become a teacher or student in them. So I'm going to go and take a quick look at the Oranges course. It's an Alpha Plus test course that was set up by our colleague Tracy. She went in and tested some of the features for us, so that way we can all take a closer look. Notice the difference in the layout between Google Classroom and this one. On the left side, as a teacher, I have a lot more features to work with. So I can create announcements for my students. I can set up different modules for learning, assignments, discussions, grades. I can manage people, pages, files, and so on. There's a lot of choices already in there. Again, remember, this is a free account on Canvas. The course that was set up by Tracy already has different modules. This one is the first module that she set up. And within that, she created a page with information about the module. She created an assignment that is marking, so there's a score that the student can achieve, and a quiz that she added. Notice the green check marks and the green dots. Those are options to tell me that those specific features are enabled and visible to students. So it's a very nice way to check if I created something and made it visible. You may be working on a course where you may be adding new modules or features, and you may be turning them on as the class progresses. So for example, the students will see the first module, and only in the second or third week of the class, you will open the second module. And that module can be already worked on and set up on your account, but it is not turned on. So the green check mark is not on, it's gray, and that indicates to you that that module is not visible to your students yet. You will also see all their options available to you as a teacher of what you're doing, how you're publishing and unpublishing different content, a lot of different features to choose, and again, a free account. When I click on people, with Google Classroom, remember it had to be email invite and a class code. Similar idea here, I can invite somebody by email address, by login ID for the specific class, but in this case, I'm not restricted by the type of email. So not only Gmail, but other accounts are allowed. If I go into assignments, you will see 2 assignments already there because they have been created, but I can add more assignments as well. Interesting feature that's visible in Canvas, and I have to be honest, really only one for the 4 tools we are exploring here, is the conferences. So the conferences allows you as a teacher to schedule a meeting, video call, with your learners. And the free version includes something from Big Blue Button, which is again, one of the conferencing tools you can create. If you're willing to pay and purchase an upgrade, then you can even link it with Zoom or Hangouts and other accounts that are available to you. There's also a section called collaborations, and this one I just kind of jump into to see what it means. And it's interesting because even though you're in Canvas, it allows you to bring in, for example, Google Docs and have learners and you collaborate and work together on those documents, such as Google Docs and other things. So it's interesting to see how that specific platform brings other applications to be used with the students as well. If we switch to student course view, you will notice the application has not as many options, but still quite a few. So the students still can see announcements, modules, and assignments, and so on. But it's just a bit cleaner view. And in this case, the green check marks in the dots are just regular green check marks. And for students, what that means is that this is the work they have completed. So it's a visual cue for them to see what was done and what they still need to work on. They have discussions that they can use. So as a teacher, you can have discussion questions or assignments for students to do. Students can collaborate and talk to each other as well. So it's a nice way for them to stay in touch and have a bit of a social connection through the class as well. And that's it for Canvas. So you have seen that the tool got a bit more comprehensive, a bit more complicated potentially for the learners who may be exposed to online learning for the first time. But again, something to consider, because as we know, as students move on to other colleges, schools, very often they will be exposed to some kind of online system. So it doesn't mean you should just discount it altogether, just explore which tool and which features will be best for you. The next tool we are looking at is Moodle. And it has been around for a while. The main address for them is moodle.org if you want anything and everything about Moodle. It is open source, so anyone can see the source code. They can install it on their computers if they want. They can change the code if they want to, so it's customizable. But from the security perspective, any open source codes are visible to others. So what that means is not that somebody can quickly break in, but somebody can actually see if there's something coded improperly. And then so some organizations and some individuals actually like open source because they have more flexibility in checking and ensuring the code is something that they're expecting to see. Moodle can be hosted in Moodle Cloud. They provide a free 45-day trial, but then after that they charge different fees. I believe it was around 80 Australian dollars on the one I was looking at. So depending on the exchange rate, you could probably say close to 80 Canadian dollars. There's also Moodle partners, so third-party organizations that will host Moodle for you and provide some technical support. Of course, you will have to pay for that. And then they can be set up on your own server. So the difference is that if somebody hosts it for you, there will be fees involved. If you host it on your own server, you can download it for free. But keep in mind that you will need tech support to manage and provide updates. And sometimes that work, that time and resources you need for that may be costly and may take a long time. So something to consider when you're making those choices and deciding which choice is better for you. Alpha Plus in the past provided training and hosted Moodle courses. We hosted that on our own server, and some of the courses and resources are still available for you to take a look at. We have a Moodle section on our website with different links you can explore. I also want to mention that some EChannels use Moodle if you're interested. It's a nice connection and something to consider. That will give you a chance and exposure to see what the learners are using and asked to do when they're taking EChannel classes. But the last two bullets I have is Moodle Sandbox and the live demo. Those two, if you link and click on them, will take you to the environment that you will be exploring. So Moodle environment, where you can see how everything works, how everything is set up. And if you like it, then you can decide to set up your own Moodle accounts. So just to clarify, I actually used a live demo for this session, just because I know this is sort of the latest version of Moodle, and that gives me a chance to explore it. And you, if you decide to do that, will be going through the same features. They provide the login information. The demo username is and password will be provided to you if you click on the live demo link on this page. And what you will end up is going into this Mount Orange School. So there's something about oranges with those testing sites. But Mount Orange School gives you a view of what the dashboard will look like if the teacher comes into their Moodle account. If you're a teacher, again, all kinds of different features for you. You have the dashboard that we just came to. There is a home for the site, calendar, files that you may not have shared before, the courses you have built, and then the landing page with special messages and information for your students as well as for you. Notice that if I switch to customize mode, the different tools showed up. So there is this sort of square and cogwheel that I can use to click and move things around on the screen. So I can kind of change the layout a bit, but also to customize the settings for what's visible, what's not visible. So all those options are available to me and I can choose what to do with them. As a teacher, if I click on a specific course, so in this case, I am selecting Celebrating Cultures course, that's where I'm directly in the course. You will see the breadcrumb is dashboards, my courses, Celebrating Cultures. Again, in a teacher mode, I have different options to choose from on the left, the main message and instructions for the students to take a look at, and some activity results and information to work with. If I switch to student view, just to give you comparison, the look is very similar. The tools on the left are very similar. The view on the right is very similar. One of the differences is as a student, again, I can track progress. So if I was completing the class, there will be a check mark next to it to indicate to me that I have actually read and completed that section. If I looked at the activities that are available in a course, so that specific course I just opened, the instructor or teacher can set up all kinds of different activities. And in this case, there's a database activity where somebody can share the recipe with others. There's glossary activity, there's assignment activity, and so on. There's a quiz and presentation that have been added to this course. So that's the content the student would be working with. But if as a teacher, I wanted to add more, this is a huge selection of activities you can choose from. All kinds of assignments, chats, choices, databases, external tools, all kinds of different things you can add when you're working in Moodle environment. Going back to the course, once again, I'm in the dashboard, my courses, Celebrating Cultures. If I click on competencies as a teacher, I can set up competencies for students to complete. So I can link the activities the student is working on to the competencies that I want the student to achieve. And that can be customized and set up by you as a teacher. If I choose to do something, I can set up different conditions, and use that as well. Another option is badges. And in badges, usually used in Moodle, haven't seen that in too many other learning management systems. What it is basically recognizing the achievements of the student. So it's almost like a scout tag or a recognition that the scouts would receive. But it's very handy to show the students that we are recognizing their achievements or progress in what they're doing. And those badges are basically sort of graphic representations, like a seal or stamp that shows that the student has completed a course or have completed specific sections within a course. And then it really is a visual way to help them see their progress as well. That's it for Moodle. And the next section will be Brightspace. Brightspace is a tool, a resource platform provided by Desire to Learn. It's an organization housed in Kitchener, Ontario, and started around 20 years ago by John Baker. The cost of purchasing the license to use Brightspace is not very low. Again, this is the cost, a quote I was provided when I was looking into it probably a year and a half ago. I was quoted $25,000, but that was with implementation and support. So what they take into account is that they need to customize this to you and your needs. And very often they specialize in bigger organizations. So that's why I believe that cost is a bit higher. I asked if we can get just sort of a platform without any tech support, and that was not an option in this case. But still, there's a 30-day trial that you can set up, so you can go in and see how Brightspace work, and I will be using that for some of the screen captures to show you some of the features. It is often used by school boards and higher education organizations, but also provided to healthcare, government, and corporate sectors. There's different types of platforms you can purchase through Desire to Learn. And I should point out that the free virtual learning environment for K-12 that's available right now during COVID-19 is powered by Brightspace. So if you want to take a look, that's a place where you can see some of the features of Brightspace as well. If you do work for a school board, do remember that very often your school board may have that, so you may have access, or college, you may have access to that through your organization. The content provided in Brightspace will include links, websites, videos, PDF documents, classes that you will set up with all this content, discussions, similar to the other type of content that you have seen in the other platforms, just organized potentially slightly differently. It works on various devices. It is available for phones and tablets as well as a download or application installation. And what's interesting is that there are different features that are specifically geared towards younger users. So what I have seen in a class setting was young students doing drawings and taking pictures, going into their Brightspace application and taking pictures to basically add the drawings they have made to their portfolio. So it is a record of what they have completed as class assignments and work they have been doing within that specific class. So a very innovative and different approach to sort of managing the materials and content that students are working on. Brightspace also provides something called Quick Start Care Package, especially now during COVID-19, they sort of promote that as a quick way to quickly start online courses. I do not know the pricing, there was no information on their website, but if you're interested, I would suggest you take a look and see if that's something that you may want to consider. And finally, one of the newer features, at least for me, I haven't seen that before, they also provide open courses. So open courses are massive online open courses, MOOCs, if you have heard that before. It's stripped down when it comes to the version of Brightspace, but you can sign in, you can create a free account, and you are able to take basically classes created by other institutions, so often schools and colleges, that have been made available for free to anyone who wants to take them. So for example, there was technology literacy level 1 that I saw that you can explore. There's also one on COVID-19. And when it comes to the dashboard, so the landing place that you will be taken to, this is a screen capture of what I was able to do through the free trial account. Again, we do not have the full version of it, but it's handy enough to get a better idea of what the learners and the teachers can do and how they can work with the application. It is cleaner, it's simpler, for example, than Canvas when it comes to layout. And then when I come to the landing page, I have an option to see sort of sample courses that were set up for me that I can go into and edit and work with to get a better sense of what Brightspace is about. Notice on the right side, announcements again. So each and every platform you're using, you will have announcements or some kind of feed or stream to communicate with your learners. If I choose a specific course, so in this case, I chose 10th grade global citizenship, you will notice now I have different tools to use for that specific course. And what's interesting is in Brightspace specifically, the top section, top menu will stay fixed. That will never disappear. You cannot minimize it, you cannot move it, and all the content will be below, which means you have to scroll. And then harder for screen captures even because you can't really grasp the entire content of the course. But again, I'm jumping into the class, and the first thing I see in this class specifically, again, is activity feed where I can create posts. If I click on that, the message allows me to create a specific message for sharing with the classmates or class students. I can allow comments for students to provide to this message, and then I can attach files or information as well. Finally, I can post now or post later. So if you look at that, and if you go back to Google Classroom, that stream post and this activity feed look very, very similar. If I go to the content, so the second tab in my class, I will see the content for the specific course. And again, a bit hard to see because it's just showing up under this bar. The top section stays fixed. If I scroll down, I can open different sections or lessons that are part of the course. And they're sort of, I can click down and open different sections within up and below. I can move them around as a teacher. I can attach reading materials, writing materials, quizzes, and activities that will create the content for this course. If I scroll down even more on these courses, you will see that I have quizzes and then reading activities for the learners. So this menu on the left allows me and the students to navigate through that specific course, read what I need to read, do assignments that I need to do, and complete the course. If I click on assessments, which is the third tab in Brightspace, I can look at the different assessments that can be assigned to me. There is one that was already done, so I can review it and I can submit my homework or assessment activities. And that's something that the teachers can do, can set up, and students can complete as they go through the content. The other thing that I just want to point out in Brightspace is that as a teacher, if I'm in the content and in the tab with different sections, there's an option for me to add standards. And those standards can be selected from existing standards. So in Brightspace, all the kinds of network standards have been uploaded. So you can see standards from financial institutions, you can see standards from school boards, you can see standards from organizations. They have been added there and shared. So I can go in and choose specific standard and then see what they have available and even copy and duplicate it into my own system. So then I can, again, create activities and assignments and show progress and completions based on the standards I assign to the class. Those can also be created manually, so you don't have to choose anything that's there. You can create your own. If you remember, I mentioned that younger students were able to use their mobile devices to take pictures of the drawings they have made and add them to portfolio. Those would have actually shown up under portfolio for them as well. So in this case, there are different assignments that are showing as just samples of what was done. And those are the students as a teacher I can see. And then in the evidence, if they took pictures or shared some of those assignments with me in the portfolio, I will see them as well. So that's where the portfolio section comes in. In Brightspace, as a teacher, you have all kinds of different tools that you can choose and explore. There's lots of help and resources for that, so you can learn more about each and every one of them. Some of them may be new to you, some of them may be things that you may be already familiar with. So just something to really take a closer look at and explore. And that completes all the information about Brightspace. I hope I already gave you 4 different tools to explore, and then you can see some of the similarities and differences between them. Other alternative is Microsoft Teams, and I have seen a teacher in a college setting deciding and thinking about using Microsoft Teams with their students. So one thing to keep in mind, my screen capture right now is a Microsoft Team that's a business account. And those features and tools are really sort of meant to work within a team environment. Educational accounts, so Microsoft Teams for Education, will have additional component for classes. So that's where teachers can create classes and work with students with classes. We have seen those or heard about them from a school board setting when there's educational account enabled. We do not have access to the educational account because we're not educational institution, so we only use Microsoft Teams as a business account. And in that, you can still have your team or group to work with. You can still have chat and activities to share. You can share files. You can have video meetings and calls. But keep in mind, it's kind of built more around sort of business or team activity rather than sort of class activity. So keep that in mind and consider that. If you and your organization have access to the educational account, that's what I would suggest. But one of the things on the regular Microsoft Team account, if you decide to use that one, there's no learning activity tracking. It's only available in the educational account. Another option for you to consider, a lot simplified version. So it is not a learning management system. That's why you see no learner activity tracking, is simply Google Sites or any type of website. So a lot of programs that we would work with and specifically worked with this year, they still choose to communicate with their learners by email and phones, or maybe through a video conferencing like Zoom or Skype. But they want to provide the content to the students to be accessible online. So rather than going through learning management systems, what they do is they create a Google website, for example, or Weebly website or WordPress website, where they create content and share it with their students. So the example here is a resources page developed by the learning group in Kitchener-Waterloo. This was developed by instructors. And so students can go and find different information and resources, links to different things that the teacher may suggest to them, as well as even links to the folders and information about the teacher. So if they need to reach out to them, they can quickly do that through that specific website. And back to that question at the beginning, what do you choose and how do you choose? Not an easy answer, as with anything else we are looking at right now. There's so many options available. So one thing to consider is the tech skills you need and your students will need to be able to do online courses, the costs that you may have to incur to use specific applications, time commitment and the learning curve for you and for your learners, functionalities, what do you really need and why? Is it really a link for students to access or full learning management system where you can do everything within that platform? The ease of use and accessibility for learners. Once again, can they access the tools that you have or not? For example, MS Teams may not be available to some of them, and other considerations you may have to think about. So think about them. If you have other questions and ideas, feel free to contact us. We will be very happy to help. In the slides that we are sharing with you, you have access to resources, and that's usually those platforms we discussed where you can find help and communities with instructors and teachers sharing information, learning from each other and supporting each other as they go. And that concludes this session. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to it. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out and contact us.